only 5% of you do this right, and the other 95% think what I'm going to tell you is probably wrong. What we're talking about today is how we release the golf club. Now, I see so many golfers, again, probably about 95%, that will try and release the golf club by throwing their hands at the ball, and they believe that's what they should do to hit the ball straight, and more importantly, to create speed. Now, there is a bit of hand flash speed that comes from that, but there's no directional control from that. What I want to teach you today is how to release the golf club correctly, still using the hands, but using the hands the right way at the right time. So we're trying to get away from today the club head throw away, the club head overtaking the hands before contact and during contact. What we want to create at contact is some element of shaft lean with a club face that is rotating to keep it square so we hit straight shots. That way we control low point, we create a more dynamic impact which makes the ball travel further. You could argue that if the club head is past the hands or passing the hands at that moment of time, then there might be a little bit more speed in the club head at that moment in time, but there'll be certainly more loft. So there's a bit of trade-off. I personally would prefer to have less loft and more control over the direction of the shots at contact. Now, even with the method I'm describing today, the club head is always lining up with the hands and doesn't get overtaken till we get into this position in my method, in the ideal method. Now, some golfers might not be able to do that, and those guys might well have to get the club head overtaking a little bit earlier than that, and that's absolutely fine. It might give you slight different directions, and it might add a bit more loft, and it might give you a bit of inconsistency with distance. You might hit one that'll go, let's say, 170, and one that will go 180, and one that will go 160, yet you feel you've hit them the same position in the club face and with the same effort and speed, and that can happen. Whereas the way I'm going to try and teach you today, we might find that the club face will close and open a fraction differently, and we might get the ball going slightly more right and slightly more left, but more importantly, deliver the correct loft nearly every time, or close to every time. So let's talk through the methods. So the method we see poorly done is what I call a lever release, where the club head will cast and overtake the hands. Now, the club should always be widening on the way down, but we should always have some element of lag, and there should be rotation to square the club face up. The best way of feeling this is to go split grip and go to the top of your swing, let the arms come down, let that wrist go into a little bit of what we call flexion, so the PXG logo in my hand here pointing slightly down to the ground, and then from there I will rotate the arms and the body at the same time to square the club face up without the right arm dumping. The right arm is lengthening, but I don't want a huge dump and then a kind of stall and flick. I want it to be kind of, okay, the hands from here, arms rotate, they connect, everything moves together. The club is throwing itself towards target, but it's that kind of after the ball. It's that kind of frisbee look where we would get the hand ahead and then the hand quickly overtaken by the club, creating that speed at that later point in the golf swing. What you'll also see in this video is some footage of me doing this hands-on with a guy called Jamie in our coach camp, or let's call it player camp, in Spain, where we do a golf school every single year. And you'll see how I work through Jamie this in real life. So somewhere here. And if I said to you now, how would you feel you're going to square that club up? How would you naturally do it?
Me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I just go bang.
Okay. So you see where that ping logo is?
Yeah.
It's at me. So that ping logo should be down the target.
Okay.
Everything else you did was very, very good.
Yeah.
No surprises. But what you haven't done is added any supination in this arm, rotation in this arm, and
So
pronation in this arm.
rotation.
Yeah, which then squares the face up.
Yeah.
So if it's still in this kind of state where this wrist is flexed, you're not throwing any shaft stuff away, you're still getting that handle drag, which I said to you is good. The handle drag is the compression, it's the divots, it's hitting after the ball, it's all those things. So what we want to feel is basically these wrists, not like that, that's dumping it a little bit into your body. It'd be kind of like this, it'll be going up and rotating like that.
Ah, okay, that's new.
Okay, and then once you got past this kind of point, so what we call your inline condition would be about here, where everything's pretty straight, and you see now the wrist starts to switch off a bit. Yeah. Then from here up, the wrist really goes into extension, like the frisbee action we talk about.
You get that nice finish then.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But ultimately what I want you to feel is the ability to square the club up using the body and arms, not just the body, not just the arms, not just the hands. Again, if we throw the club away, that ground becomes very inviting. And if I do make contact by skimming the ground, quite often I'll hit it a few grooves up, or I'll launch it really high in the air and weak. So the kind of golfer we would see would be that kind of release. And that golf shot, you might look at it and think, okay, it's gone fairly straight, felt horrible, quite weak, but my hand speed might well be quite fast at impact. So what I'd like you to do is to basically do the split hand drill, feel the hands go low, square up, rotate, try and get your elbow to point left to target, try and get the glove to point down target, so this is parallel to where we want to go. Feel that rotation. The forearm's going to do this, like you're kind of tapping that tyre down the road, certainly going up the tyre, but it's rotating and squaring up, ideally with the wrist still bent back. That's the feel of the release. And the body and arms are working together, not one individual item. Once you've got that feel, let's go ahead and hit a shot, trying to feel we get that release. And it wants to feel synchronized, connected. If you feel the arms are outrunning the body, put your thumb in your pec and your finger in your bicep, make some swings, and feel they work together. Feel in the finish, the elbow and the butt of the club point more back to where the ball is. That'll get you a feeling of the rotation we're looking for. And if you need to feed that even more because you slice the ball, then feed it more with some more one arm swings, feeling that release. I certainly like to feel the release is more left arm, left hand, and the right hand goes along for the ride, but it still keeps that pressure. So again, it's not one arm, one hand, but depending on what you currently do, you may well have to feed using one hand, one arm, more than the other to get the right sink. Now, quite a lot of golfers will struggle to release the club properly because of how they swing on the way back and also how they start down. If your lead wrist goes very cupped on the way down, you're going to want to throw the club very early. If your plane is over, you'll stall, and as soon as your body stalls, you're losing that synchronization, and then the arms and hands are working faster and more dominant at a different spot. They'll be doing it early. We want ideally the club to be a little bit closer, if anything here, then the body and arms to be working together through impact to create the most consistent results. Have a go working these fields with a split grip. Look at the reaction to Jamie when I taught him through these things and the feels of it on the range in Spain. And again, he was cutting the ball too much, so we wanted to increase his release, but that was the message and the feedback I got from him during that session, that he said, okay, wow, that's new, that's different. So it'll be different and new for you. And again, as I said to you, from all my years coaching, only about 5% of you know this, and only 5% of you do this.